okay, now
Of course.
I started off volunteer, and now I'm getting paid for this. I'm like, okay, now I'm getting paid. People see you, they see you have a camera, and they're like, oh, can you do a video?
Yeah.
And you're like, totally, I can do a video. I took like whatever money I had, and I just went out there. So for the whole 2 months, I worked back-to-back days on any set I could get onto. And it was just me emailing everywhere. Like, I was just doing anything I could do to get in. You know, and that's the biggest thing, is just getting in. And it's so hard. And people were like, I want to get in, but I want to get into camera, so I don't want to do this other stuff. It's just like, do the other stuff, camera will follow. That's like, just jump head first. I've been full-time for 1.5 years now. This is episode 61, huh?
61.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How
Big
should we start
61.
this off?
Hey, are we all rolling?
We all rolling.
All the cameras are rolling, huh?
Everybody's rolling.
Episode 61, take one. Mark.
Woo! Let's go. First time that's ever happened. Welcome back to the Two for Eyes podcast, where we document the rise and stardom of Winnipeg's talent and personalities. Welcome back to the #1 podcast in Winnipeg.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you're going to be able to tell this one's a little bit different.
And there's a reason why. Let's bring on our guest for today. He is a professional full-time filmmaker. He started from the bottom, but worked his way up to the big leagues. He paved his own path into the industry. Please welcome our very good friend, Alex.
Alex.
Thanks for the introduction,
Let's
man.
go.
Love it.
Thank you for coming on to the set,
Yeah, happy to be
Fixing.
here.
fixing this up for us.
You're sitting here now, but people don't know that you've been on our set for a while now, just fixing things, your lighting setup, you are fixing our cameras and everything. First of all, thank you for doing that.
Totally.
And we appreciate you coming.
Mhm.
We know you. We've met. If we want to talk about how we met, I think that'd be a good way to start this off.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you remember it? Do you remember how we
Yeah.
met?
Well, I forget how we met exactly, but I know you guys were looking for someone to do a promo video
Mhm.
Yeah.
for, hey, we're starting a new podcast.
Sir.
It's called Tool for Rise.
Yes, sir.
And you were looking for like a videographer to make it. And, I was just starting out. Around the same time as you guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I was like, okay, I'm starting out. You guys are starting out. Can make a promo video.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't exactly know if you guys came to me or if you guys found me through somebody.
So I was walking through UC. It was
Yeah.
kind of like all this happened like at the right time, right
So weird.
moment, just everything. So yeah, like you said, we were looking for someone to film. We wanted like a cool intro video that was like, okay, here we are, Two for Rise. And I was walking through UC, and you were sitting at a booth for, I think, the photography.
The darkroom,
Okay,
right?
got you.
You were sitting just, I think it was like intro week or something, like you were promoting something.
Yeah.
And I come up to you and I'm like, hey, I need a film. And then I think you use your more technical term, like film as in like photography film,
Yeah.
or more like videography. I was like,
For sure.
no, we need a videographer. And then I think it just worked out that we were so happy that you did it. I mean, if you've seen our original video, the first video on this channel,
There's two Z's filmed actually with his company.
yeah, there's two. We did two. Do you remember the interview
Yeah,
that
we
we
did interviews as
interviews
well.
and the
too.
running
Yeah.
sequence? Yo, we'll put them up because
Sure,
that was
sure,
such a
sure.
fun time.
Sure. No, I've definitely improved a lot since then.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you could show old work. Yeah,
We'll put it.
totally.
Let's dive
Yeah.
into your journey and how you started. So where did you get the inspiration to start filming and becoming a filmmaker in general?
You know what? Like, I didn't really realize it until like really late in the game. I started with like photography,
Mhm.
just in university mostly, and I started with like the photography club that was there, and they mostly did film photography, which
Yeah.
is like like analog, not digital or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. From there, it kind of just then I got my first digital camera, and then people see you, they see you have a camera, and they're like, "Oh, can you do a video?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Totally, I can do a video." And you hand them like a really, really bad video
Sure.
product, and but then you improved.
Right.
You improve every single time, and I honestly, I don't know. Like within the past couple years, it really kind of skyrocketed. I did photo shoots for a while, and then I had this guy who's a really good friend of mine now. His name was Gabriel, and he also walked into the photo club looking for a photographer, though.
Okay.
And he was trying to get into modeling.
Sure.
And so I did his first photo shoot, his first portfolio or whatever, and that got him signed with Panache Management.
Wow.
And
Wow.
ever since then he went from panache management and he went to some other modeling like company or whatever
Mm.
in Vancouver. He moved to Vancouver.
Damn,
And when he
okay.
moved there, he's like, "Hey, you should like move. You should come to Vancouver for a little bit. Just stay at
Yeah.
my place.
Uh-huh.
You know, help pay for groceries or whatever."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Bet." You know.
I'll do it.
Say
Yeah.
no more.
So you know, I went to Vancouver for 2 months, and it was totally like he's like, you know, you can stay here, just do what you need to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. So for the whole 2 months, I worked back-to-back days on any set I could get onto, because Vancouver is basically Canada's LA, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to back, you know, I worked on like indie sets. Indies are like the low budget, the independent, right?
Yeah.
So and I worked on all, you know, any set I could be on. So back to back days for 2 months, and then I came back to Winnipeg. I'm like, that was good.
Let's do it
I
again.
want a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? And then I started doing that here, and it just slowly, you know, I slowly started like moving up the ranks or whatever. You know, I was working from independent shoot to like videographers with different videographers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting like filmmakers that were based here as well. And it kind of just evolved from that.
Wow. Have you always had a passion for like film?
No.
And like as a kid, like what was your dream? What did you want to do?
When I was a kid, honestly, like my parents wanted me to be an engineer. So I kind of just was like
Yep.
aiming towards that, right?
Yep.
Sure.
You know, and you know, obviously I didn't go that path.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was like engineer or whatever. My parents kind of like, you know, influenced me or whatever, and you know, they just wanted the best for me. Right?
Yeah, of
So
course.
I was, you know, engineering when I was little.
Okay.
So what was that like in going to Vancouver, right? You're staying there for 2 months, working back-to-back jobs.
Okay,
How was the experience like? What did you learn?
what did I learn in Vancouver? Okay, that's an interesting one.
Because those were the stepping stones to your journey, right? Like that's your biggest, the one big step that you took, move out to.
I would say
Vancouver,
so.
right?
Yeah, I took like whatever money I had, and I just went out there, and like there was a time getting close to the end of the trip when, like me and my friend, you know, I ran out of money or whatever, and all I had was the return. You know, I took the train there, so I had the return train,
Okay.
The hefty.
and he, you know, he ran out of cash that week too, and we looked all around his apartment, and all we found was pancake batter or pancake mix where you put like water. So we ate
Yeah.
pancakes for like the rest of the week or whatever.
Wow.
So it was like survival mode. But what I learned when I was there, honestly, it built the foundation for me of what I know now, where it's like what to do on set, what not to do on set.
Right.
There's like a lot of red tape. There's a lot of, you know, steps that you need to do. You need to learn like the terminology. You need to learn like the process of setting up a stand the correct way. You need to learn, you know, so many things, and it depends on what position. I worked so many started like as a production assistant, which is usually like the entryway into like a film set. It's
Sure.
like you're basically a helping hand at
Yeah.
that point. And then, you know, I started getting into art, and then one guy, you know, took a chance on me and let me be in camera for one day. And that was like the game changer for me. It's like, okay, this is camera department, you know?
Sure.
Like I want to work in camera, you know? This is great. This is what I want to do. I think that was the big thing. And like there were so many things I learned, and it just built the foundation for me. I think it's just getting like the vibe of how it is to be on set
Right.
was like a really important thing, because you know you can't be like too, you know, bright and jumpy and
Yeah.
wide-eyed or anything, right? You have to kind of be like calm and collected when you're on set, and like that's where you start getting better at your craft.
And would you say that's where you learned majority of your thing, like through experience, or would you say like did you watch videos on how to do this, or where did you learn majority of your stuff from?
Yeah, I would say to start, experience was like the biggest thing, because before I went to Vancouver, I watched videos, and I would watch them and understand like half the things that they're talking about or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they mention some things about set, and I just go over my head
Yeah,
because I don't know what the environment was like, right?
Mhm.
And so, you know, before I watched a ton of videos, and you know, I absorbed only so much, and then once I went to Vancouver, then I think that opened up like a new gateway or something, where I was like, now I can watch videos and I understand what they're saying, And like I don't have to, when they start talking, you kind of like are catching all the basic stuff, but all the important stuff like the meat is like going over your head because you just don't understand. You don't have the foundation, you don't have the fundamentals down yet. So I think you kind of need a little bit of both, where you watch videos and you get the real-time experience as well. And that's kind of like what's going to get you running, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of your life if you choose to like go into any craft. Is like you get experience on set and then you learn that, right? But you don't just stop there. You also like watch videos and you try to educate yourself even further, and you take a another step.
And I'm sure there was definitely a learning curve when it come to this film industry, right? Like you setting up the lights and stuff here, explaining the aperture, ISO, whatever, right? I was making jokes as Apple jokes. But like, I'm sure being on an actual set where you have directors, you have producers that are telling you, hey man, fix this, fix that. What was that learning curve like for you?
Oh man, that was rough. I'm gonna tell you, it's totally rough when you're on set and like you're with all of these people. Let's say there's people even in their 40s and 50s, veterans.
Yeah.
You are just on set, and it's your first time on set. You are just a set of hands.
Yeah.
You have to come from an understanding that like you have nothing to offer these people, right? They don't expect anything from you either, because you tell them it's your first time on set and they're like, okay, I'm gonna have to look out for this guy, right? So they don't expect anything from you except for like a really good attitude. And I think that's like the biggest thing I kind of learned at first was like, you gotta show up and you gotta bring your A game and you gotta have like a good attitude. Everything else will come after. Everything else, like, maybe you're really slow at setting up this light, or maybe you're really slow at swapping a lens on the camera or whatever. But that's okay. That comes with like time. That only comes with experience. There's no way to cheat your way past that. But at least you have the attitude, good attitude, good, and keep the morale up. Keep everything going like smoothly. That's the best thing that you can offer when you're like just starting out.
How did you get these gigs? Like I know you went to Vancouver and you said you were trying to hustle your way into like getting as any shoot you could. But what was it actually? Were you like reaching out to directors? Were you reaching out by email, or how you just show up at their door and be like, here, I'm here to help? Or like
so before going to Vancouver, I remembered like I tried to prep 1 month in advance. And it was just me emailing everywhere.
Okay.
I joined like all the Facebook pages because Facebook pages for film is like a big thing. There's like always posts on these Facebook pages, and there's gonna be ones for crew. There's gonna be some for cast. Yeah. So you could like be somebody behind the scenes, or you could be on screen as an extra or something. And so I've emailed all of those, and I put like my photography resume or whatever, and I would just send whatever I had. And I did this all a month in advance because I knew like it would probably take them some time to reply to me. And only one of them got back to me by the time I was on the train to Vancouver. And that was like the first day I arrived. The next day I'm on set for that one. And that one was a short film. It was 3 days. So it was a short film with a budget or whatever. And then once I finished that one, like I think the day we wrapped, I got an email. I updated my resume. I sent out another email to like a posting that came up recently. And I put in my resume like who was the producer, who was the director, who. They're like, oh, this person.
I know them.
Right? Okay, come on tomorrow. We start tomorrow. I'm like, okay. And it was just, and then it's, it was a kind of a snowball effect from there where I started getting jobs. And by the time I left Vancouver, I was still getting people, like I got people asking me, hey, are you still in Van? Are you able to like do this show next week or whatever? I'm like, sorry, man, I'm on my way to Winnipeg. Right? So it's a snowball effect. You started picking up momentum, especially in a city like Vancouver. Like you pick up momentum. At least I did pretty quickly. Just because there's always something going on there. Like there's like 50 projects happening at a time, at least in that city. From like big to small projects. So it's really crazy.
Hey yo, we interrupt this episode to bring you today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more. Anyone can join the millions of the members in the community to learn cutting-edge skills, network with peers, and discover new opportunities. If you'd like to support our show and are interested in Skillshare, click the first affiliate link in our description to get your 14-day free trial on us. It's quick, easy, and you can cancel it anytime. Now back to the episode. And I'm sure that grind was real. Like, man, you're living by yourself, you're working back to back. What was that like for you?
It was pretty crazy. I was, I'm not from Vancouver or anything, right? So, I had to take the metro everywhere as well.
Yeah.
So, they send you a call sheet the night before. A call sheet is kind of like just tell you where you're going to be, what you're going to be shooting, what time you have to be there.
Right.
Okay.
Those are like the important things on the call sheet. So they send the call sheet always the night before.
Sure.
So the night before, I'm staying up, waiting for the call sheet, checking my email, refreshing it.
Yeah.
I get the call sheet. It's like, okay, I need to be at this place, 10 a.m. And, so I'm like, okay, I need to take the metro there. Where is it? Langley. Langley is kind of like, for Vancouver, I was in Burnaby. So Langley is kind of like Winnipeg to Selkirk or something for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's like an hour and a half on the metro.
Yeah.
So I had to plan to be on the metro and then be on set at least 30 minutes early. And I'm getting the call sheet the night before, right? So it's just like, and it's like that every single night.
Yeah.
So it really was a grind. It's kind of like you show up to set early and then you work sometimes like 12 hours or whatever. Or, sometimes 14 hours. I'm not too proud of that. But, sometimes you work 14 hours and then you take the train back.
Yeah, I think people don't realize, like, working on a set is not like a regular job. There's like a lot of things going on behind.
There's
There's
a lot of moving parts.
a lot of moving parts. And how do you handle that? Like, even as a baseline player who's just a helping hand, what is your role and how can you be the best at what you can do?
Yeah. So when you first arrive, it looks really hectic. It's something that's, a little bit scary when you first show up on set and you see all these people walking around, and then you hear people like giving directions and stuff and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But after you kind of let that soak in for a moment, you start to realize that there's a bunch of different departments. Like there's a camera department, there's a lighting department, there's a locations department. The locations department is like, managing the location, the people who own the location. Can we put this up on this wall? I don't know. Let me call somebody, right?
Okay.
So there's like a department for everything. There's like hair and makeup, there's everything.
Yeah.
So there's so much that's going on, but everyone has their own job, right? So if you're in camera, you don't have to touch the lights.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the camera. If you're in lights, you don't have to touch the camera, right? So it's like everyone's focused on like, a set number of things. So it's not everyone doing everything and it's not chaos or anything. It's like really is it kind of a more organized system. Everyone has their own, job. They have their own little box that they're working in. And once you get used to that, then you kind of like calm yourself down a little bit and you're like, okay, now I can get to work kind of thing,
Wow.
Now, what was that transition like from you went to Vancouver, you spent 2 months there in the film industry, you've gained all this knowledge. Now you have to come back to a smaller city like Winnipeg. What was that like? I mean, like, what was the next step for you?
Yeah, that was tough. It took, I think, 2 months after I arrived back in Winnipeg for me to get on even like a short film or something. It seemed like there was like this really high barrier and like I didn't know how to get into it here. Because in Vancouver, it's like everything's moving so fast.
Right.
And, I sent all these resumes and only one responded back to me
Yeah.
out of like, I don't know, 50 projects that were happening in Vancouver. Now you come to a smaller city, not as much going on, right? Like maybe for every 50 projects they have going on, we have maybe like 5 or something, if even that, right?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be like short films, bigger films, whatever it is. And so that was really tough. And so what I tried to do is the same approach that I did in Vancouver, whereas like I went on all the Facebook pages, and then I tried following Instagrams for like, we have like Winnipeg Film Group here. I kind of saw that building one time I'm like, okay, Winnipeg Film Group is a thing. Maybe that's gonna be my entryway in.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't for me, but I one day there was a posting for like volunteer gig,
Yeah.
production assistant or whatever on a short film. I was like, I'm there, you know. I am like I'm jumping right on that, and I think that was again kind of like the start of a very slow snowballing effect, where I started to get like a foundation. I've found these people, these connections, and they brought me on the next project, and there were more people that were on that project.
Yeah.
And then these people were like, hey, do you want to help out on my project, on like my separate project away from these guys? I'm like, okay, sure, I'll come on to that one.
Yeah.
So the first group that I kind of started working with here was called Old Productions. I'm going to do name calling and stuff
Yeah,
because
go
like
at it.
I'm going to give people shout outs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They deserve
So
it.
Old Productions, they started my foundation here in Winnipeg. I didn't know anybody who was into film. I knew like people who were photographers, but it's a totally different ball game when you're working in film or whatever. So I started like meeting all these people through Old Productions, and then next thing you know, I'm like, on other people's short films, other people's, passion projects or whatever. I start building that up, building like kind of a network here. And then that's when I start, getting to people are like, okay, hey, do you want to come shoot this for me? Or do you want to come help me out on this project that's like lighting or whatever? And we'll pay you $200 for the day or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, now
Of course.
I started off volunteer and now I'm getting paid for
paid.
this. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
now I'm getting paid,
Yeah.
right?
We're making banks.
Yeah. Now I'm starting to, now I can start paying your gas money,
Yeah.
the food money that I spend when I go on like a volunteer gig
Yeah.
or whatever. Now I can start paying that stuff off,
It seems like what you've been saying is like your network of people you meet, and those people who meet more and more seems very important in the industry you're in. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that. I would say that's like a huge part of it. It's just the network.
Yeah, just knowing the right people and the right time, and if they're filming at a certain time. And another thing I realized is you're willing to do it all. You're willing to put yourself out there, no matter if it's a volunteer gig, no matter if it's like, here, I'll set your light out for you, or I'll come help you with this. You're willing to do it all.
Yeah,
And
that's definitely how I started out.
you're just hustling for it. Right?
Exactly. I was just doing anything I could do to get in, That's the biggest thing is just getting in, and it's so hard, and people are like, I want to get in, but I want to get into camera, so I don't want to
Yeah.
do this other stuff. It's just like, do the other stuff, camera will follow. That's like, just jump head first, everything else will follow,
Facts.
I remember when we called you on to make the trailer for us.
Okay.
First thing we did was get a call sheet. I'm like, I've never gotten a call sheet before. You remember that 6 a.m.?
Yeah, a shot
did
list
I
or
make a
shot
call
list.
sheet?
You made a shot list. You
Oh,
did.
okay.
You were the director
Yeah.
of the thing, and this was our first this was our first time where we were like, because we were new to the game too,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
we had maybe like one camera, I think. Like Ritik was running that one camera, and
Okay.
then
In the tight small studio,
Tight Sauce Movie, first time we ever seen it, and you come with
the gear.
gear.
Yeah.
You pulled up to your house, and bags on bags on bags
Yeah.
of equipment, and we were like, what?
Wow.
Yeah,
this
the
is
gear
real.
situation's a little worse now, but yeah.
It was like, wow. And the fact, like you were able to do,
Yeah.
you're willing to, hey,
Do everything.
I'll help you. I got you. And
Yeah.
you knew everything too. That's what we were most impressed by. We were like, no matter, you knew how to set the lights, you knew what the camera looked like, how to even edit. You did all the editing for that too. And like,
Most important thing, you were a perfectionist. I
yeah.
remember the shot that one. You remember the gliding shot that went from the window?
Sure.
How many takes did we do for that? That was like what?
A lot.
At least 30 takes, and you're like, nah, it's not the right one.
I don't think it was 30 takes. I don't remember it being that many, but
All we had to do was look at each other
Yeah.
and nod.
mm.
But we did it so many times, and that moment, like we both knew. We were like,
Yeah, I
"With this
think
guy."
Arshdeep was a little on the hop for that one. He was like not. He's like, you know. I
always
was just
mess it
like
up.
behind the camera. I was just trying to get the perfect slow nod between you guys to
Right.
kind of make it, like in sync,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So where did that freelance start for you? Like, was it after you've moved into Winnipeg, trying to make yourself reliable in the film industry, like make a scene in here?
Well, I started before with like photography and videography so before Vancouver, 2 years before, I started in photography, and then I kind of started into videography with my
Right.
friend Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys met.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
met
yeah.
him. We
Yeah,
met
Great
him.
guy.
Jacob, Chris, the whole
Oh yeah,
squad.
totally.
The
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
squad.
They're still the homies today.
Okay,
So
wow.
you know,
perfect.
The real one.
keeping the real ones.
Yeah.
You know, the same
Absolutely.
team.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Jacob and I would start doing weddings.
Yeah.
You know, so we started doing weddings, and that's kind of how we made our money.
Mhm.
You know, our like our few bucks or whatever
Yeah.
during the summer, getting like wedding cash or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, so I didn't go to Vancouver with absolutely zero knowledge,
Mhm.
but the knowledge I went to Vancouver with when I arrive onto a film set, absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely useless. And then I think by the time I came back from Vancouver, that's when I met you guys. So I was just
Oh,
starting
okay.
out with that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of knew a little bit of how to set up like my DSLR or whatever, and you
Yeah.
know, kind of knew how to where to put a light or whatever, and you know, I did the best I could, you know, with what I knew at the time. Um, but yeah, so I met you guys at the start of that, but you know, I feel like I've improved so much since then, where I've been able to like work for larger clients. I've been able to deliver like projects I'm a little bit more proud of, and I can actually start comparing a little bit. I'm like, it's not quite up to spec with this, but it's like getting really close where I'm like, wow, I can actually make a quality product now that people want and will hire me to get that look or to get that product, right?
We interrupt this episode to bring you another sponsor. If you've ever considered building a website, you've probably definitely heard of Squarespace. Squarespace is an online web designer that allows you to create your website from scratch using a wide range of templates. If you want to build an e-commerce site, a small business, Squarespace got it all. Click the affiliate link in our description to start building your website today. You'll be helping out the show and also creating a killer website to flex on your peers. Now back to the episode. I mean, you also have your own company. Like, you're wearing the
Yeah,
shirt.
got the
Or-
merch from my friend at Prince Clothing. He does all my stuff for me, shirts, hoodies, whatever.
And so, like, what's the idea of having your own production company versus working for someone? Is that the end goal, to have your own production company?
Well, I would say even if you have your own production company, you're gonna still work for the client or whatever,
Okay,
right?
yes, of course.
But you have a lot more control over like the creativity.
Sure.
If you are working, like for example, I worked with Jacob a lot, right?
Mhm.
So he was normally the director, and I was the director of photography, which is or cinematographer, whatever
Right.
you prefer.
Mhm.
And so we kind of had like a general consensus on the look,
Mhm.
right? And so, you know, we knew the look that we wanted, and so being like the leaders of the production company or whatever it is, depending on what the client wants, we can kind of meet in the middle and like do a little bit more. This is our style, and then we're gonna apply it to what you want,
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Sure.
So because the client kind of knows what they want,
Yeah.
they have an idea, but once you show them something that looks good, they're gonna be like, "That's the new
That's what we
thing.
want."
That's the new thing that I want." They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is what I wanted the entire time," but it's actually the new thing that they want.
Yeah.
It's like, now this is what I want. I had an idea, but you want to exceed their expectations, right?
Right.
So I think once you like develop a style, and develop like your look, and you kind of have this consistent product that you can make,
Mhm.
you can apply that to like any client, any product or whatever, and it's gonna be your style, and people are gonna come to you, and you're gonna capitalize on that specific style. You're not gonna try and do someone else's style. You're gonna do your style, and they're gonna come to you.
Mhm.
And that's another thing. There's competition, but there's not that competition because everyone's like so different. Everyone has their own style or whatever.
Right.
So we're not fighting each other for jobs or anything. We're not like tugging at each other's necks or whatever. It's like a collaborative thing. It's
Mhm.
like we're not trying to tear people down. We're trying to like learn together, learn from, this is your style. You're a professional at doing this, and this is what I know how to do. And maybe I can teach you something as well.
Mhm.
How important was that building team for you? Like in Winnipeg, you said you still keep the real ones around you, right?
For sure.
What was that process like for you, building the Ordinary Film Company team?
Sure. Building the Ordinary Film Company is just like, you work with some people and you just know you're on the same page.
Right.
Within the first hour or so into set, you're on the same page.
Mhm.
If you're not on the same page in the
Yeah.
same hour, you're gonna know you're not on the same page, and you're like, okay, this isn't gonna work out. At least not for this project, but maybe
Mhm.
the next project it'll work out a little bit differently or whatever. So just finding people who you're on the same page with, having like a general consensus of like what you want to achieve,
Mhm.
making sure it's like same goals or whatever, and it's just working with the same people over and over again. It really helps make things faster. You can work together a lot better. It's just a nicer experience overall. But there's also something to meeting new people every time on
Right.
set as well.
Wow, I'm just because you've done a lot, right? Like you've done the smallest projects to now the bigger ones,
Sure.
and talk about some of the bigger projects that you're like more proud of,
Okay.
and that you were like, hey, I actually made it, and this is something I enjoy doing.
Sure. So to start with that, I'm gonna just say that I have like two streams in my life where it's kind of like one is my own company or whatever with, Jacob and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I speak for them as well. I think it's the same thing as well. But then I also have my personal stream
Sure.
where it's like I'm working as a crew member on someone else's bigger set or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
So we have our own projects for the Ordinary Film Company. So I can start by talking about some of our personal achievements and my personal achievements as like an independent
Mm-hmm.
freelance filmmaker that I've been full time for 1.5 years now.
Sure.
Wow.
And so, when we first started the Ordinary Film Company, we made a short film,
Yeah.
and that was terrible. So we never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
Then we made another short film after that called Treat Yourself, a guide to self-improvement.
Right.
That one's just on YouTube or whatever. And that was our first film we made. We made a short film. We're like, okay, we're gonna write a script.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna, do our own audio. We're gonna do our own camera. We had Chris on set for that one as well, and Jacob was directing it.
Mhm.
I did camera, and we learned a little bit from our first flop of a short film, and we applied that, and we made a product which I was very proud of, and I'm still proud that I was able to do that as my first like real short film where I was in the process of like the pre-production, the planning, and then filmed it, and I did all the lighting and everything, and then Jacob and I did the sound, and we went into my room on my desktop computer, and we edited it together, and we made it into like a final product that we were proud of,
Yeah.
right? And that was our first like milestone, I would say. The first one was really good because we learned what not to do, and then this one, Treat Yourself, that was our first milestone. We're like, okay, now we can actually start making stuff, and we started doing like little projects, videography things, anything we could do again. Like we were willing to do it all because we just wanted to get the experience. Like we had to work on the grind. There's no way to cheat yourself with experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell somebody you're gonna make a video for them, you have to deliver. Like
Yeah.
you can't just be like, oh, I can make a video for you, I can make this amazing product, and then you deliver something where the audio is terrible,
Yeah.
the video is like noisy or whatever, and the lighting is like there's no lights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. You have to deliver. So we started grinding. We started getting all that experience. It got to a point where one of the people I met through Old Productions, her name is Joanne Roberts, who is now an award-winning filmmaker here in Winnipeg. She's I met her and I directed her first short film, and one day she calls me and obviously the rest of my team as well, and she's like, hey, I have this big project for CBC and I want to film it. And we do that, and it becomes, I think, the second most viewed video on CBC's Instagram page.
Wow.
And
What was
so that felt great.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was like, for me personally, I was like, we made something and people loved it, and it feels really good to kind of have that kind of feedback when you see your project excel.
Yeah.
It feel like it's such like a
course.
crazy feeling.
Like the work paid off.
It really paid off.
Right.
So we made that product, and we got paid like really well for it, and it kind of established us as a film company because it shows the CBC logo and then it cuts to our logo at the end, right?
Yeah.
And then establishes Joanne as like a director. You know, now she's like an award-winning filmmaker, and I'll get it into that in a second. And she was like, that video was about her. It's like a little script that she wrote about her and like her culture, basically, as a Filipina, right?
Yeah.
And so we made that video and it was great. The producer loved it. You know, Joanne loved how it ended up coming out once, you know, we finished the edit or whatever. And, you know, it was all great. And that led to like more projects later down the line with CBC, and they became a returning client for us, for our team, and, you know, consistent work. Then Joanne signs up for this pitch contest for Gimli Film Festival in RBC. So you submit a script, and if it wins, you get a $10,000 budget to make your film, plus $5,000 for equipment from William F. White's, which is the biggest, I would say it's the biggest like rental company in across Canada for film equipment. Like they supply the equipment to all the big movies. Like if you see like if you go downtown, like Fort Garry Hotel, and you see like these big lights. You know, like humongous lights, and you see like all these trailers, and like you see light stands and lights and like all this equipment. That's them. So $5,000 budget to rent equipment from them for our $10,000 budget short film, and she won. And it was crazy. And she's like, you know, I want the Ordinary Film Company team again on this because, you know, we did that CBC video together. That turned out great. Let's do this, right? And so we did that short film. It was called Anak, and it premiered at this year's Gimli Film Festival in the summer. We did that. It was 2 days of filming. I was the director of photography. Joanne was directing. And, you know, of course, we had Chris, who was helping out with like lighting, and then Jacob, who was my first camera assistant, and then like there were a bunch of other people that we hired for it as well, and everyone got paid like their rates or whatever, because we put all the budget, like, you know, we had to pay for the location that we shot in, and you know, the equipment rental was already covered by like a separate grant or whatever, right? The $5,000. So the rest of the money that we weren't using for location, we made sure everyone got paid well. You know, we don't want to like, you know, put money towards us or put towards equipment if we don't need to, or excess money. So we put it towards like the crew, right? So we make this short film. It premieres at Gimli, and it's amazing. Meanwhile, Joanne submits the thing that we made from CBC for the Fascination Film Festival, and it wins. and she becomes award-winning filmmaker, of course, as a Filipina director. You know, like that's like an amazing achievement, right? And like to think that we're the team behind this as well, behind like this award-winning film, behind like this other film that had like basically a $15,000 budget and premiered at the Gimli Film Festival, like on their big projector screen on the beach or whatever that they do every year. Like it's crazy. Like we, like as an independent production company that like didn't start too long ago, like that I just couldn't picture us being there even in 5 years, never mind like 2 years or whatever, however long it was to get to this point. And so like for us, you know, as a collective, I would say that's already a crazy achievement that we started from like, you know, whatever DSLR I had, and now we have like a Black Magic camera set up, like 2 cameras set up. We have a lighting equipment, we have grip equipment, we have sound equipment, and we have people that we can call in from outside. Like, you know, it's just me, Chris, and Jacob, right? But we have like a whole network of people that we know and that we like to work with, that, you know, we can just call in and be like, hey, I need sound. I know a great person. She's great. Her name's Sam Kahato. I'm going to bring her in as like the boom operator. She's going to operate the boom pole and the recorder, and she's gonna get the sound, the best quality that we can produce, right? And so it's just like knowing all these other industry professionals, and it's just like such a great feeling to know like all these people kind of have your back. And it's kind of like you're not doing everything by yourself or whatever. Now you have a team, you have people that you can call in. You can hire people because all these are like, you know, if it's a gig for CBC or something, they're paying for everybody who's on set. Everyone's getting paid.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting their rates.
Of course. Yeah. And so from all this, your whole journey, what is some advice you can give to the filmmaker that's starting out and wants to go?
Sure. I would say get experience, you know, like really put in your hours of like grind. You know, your first project is going to be terrible. And then your second project is also going to be terrible. And then your third one, and, you know, up to like, you know, 20 projects in is going to be terrible. But then you'll realize on your 25th project that you improved.
This one looks good.
Yeah, this one, you know, I'm actually kind of proud of this one for now at least, right?
Yeah.
And then your next project is going to get even better from there. And like you're just going to be improving, and you need to put in that time, you need to put in the effort, you need to, you know, get that real-time experience. And then on your off hours, you spend your time like researching on how you can do better. And then because it gets really hard when you're on set and there's all this stuff happening, to apply everything that you watched the video on.
Right.
Like once you walk through those doors and they're like, okay, we need to set everything up, everything just flies out the window. And so it's just that foundation, is that fundamental that you're going to fall back on. So whenever you're on set, you're going to be the worst version of yourself. And it's always going to be the fundamentals and what you have down, like rock solid. That's going to be what you're going to deliver when you're on set.
Wow. On that note, I think this is a perfect way to end off the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the Ordinary Film Company and Alex. We'll tag everything in the description below. We're on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. Back on YouTube, so smash that like button. We're live every Tuesday morning at 11:30 a.m. on the UMFM radio station 101.5 FM. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Of course.
Let's go. Woo!